Hi, everybody. We are now live. Rochelle, yes, about San Francisco. I hear that. Just to answer Rochelle's question, there is a great initiative going on called the Try Share. I'll put that in the chat. And if anybody wants more information, you're going to get my email during this webinar. You can email me and I'll tell you more about it. But Try Share is really a grassroots initiative where we're trying to get families to pay 1/3, business to pay 1/3, and government to pay 1/3 of the cost of childcare in each individual city. And it's actually quite successful already in some states. That's probably a whole webinar in itself to figure out how to get Try Share in your neighborhood. Okay. Are we ready to start, Harmony?
Yes, we're good.
Okay, great. Let me just make sure that I know how to advance my slides. There you go. We use QR codes and stuff. So hello, Nicole, your device, if you've got a phone next to your computer or vice versa, you can use this. And by the way, all of the webinars here for Playground and for ECI are recorded. So if any of you come in late or you miss something, or I know I talk very quickly and you want to go back or share it with a friend, all of these webinars are recorded. There is going to be a Q&A at the end of this. And the other thing too is there is another, there are more of these coming up all of the time. Sasha Reese, one of the founders of Playground, couldn't be here. So we've got the beautiful Harmony Schwartz assisting in the back room. And I am your host today, Tamar Andrews. Hi, Nicole. Used to work in the San Jose Los Gatos JCC. I was just at a JCC this morning working out. We're going to talk today about, hi, Meredith. We're going to talk today about landing the perfect tour. Now, I got to tell you, as a former preschool director, I'm only 20. But I was a preschool director for almost 40 years at 6 different centers, the last one for about 20 years. And I can tell you that the tour is really where you make or break. You know, when you find your beloved and you go on dates, right? That is the dating period. In an early childhood ecosystem, the dating actually takes place right here on the tour. It's basically like a 90-minute fiance. You have 90 minutes to win these families over. And today we're going to talk all about the strengths and weaknesses and what to do. Oh, and Jessica's got Try Share going. Yeah, Jessica, maybe you'll help with a webinar on Try Share. So today's agenda, I just want to share with you is, this is what I have planned, but I am also a constructivist at heart. So it'll probably waffle depending on questions, etc. I'm going to try and keep my eye on the chat as well. So if you do have a question, and I think it should really be answered in the moment, I'll answer it in the moment. Otherwise, Harmony, if you'll help me, I'll say, put that in the parking lot and we'll we'll do that one at the end. So let's get started. And the slides, oh yes, the slides will also be available. I share everything for free. For those of you that know me, my kids hate it because they're like, Mom, you could be making money on this. I don't get paid for most of what I do. I love what I do. I think you'll notice that in a moment. So let's get started. First of all, your tour, okay? And I want to start by asking you all a question, if I might, okay? When was the last time you actually studied your own tour? Like, when did you actually do a deep dive into your tour and say to yourself, not just how did it go, but really looked at every single piece of your tour from the moment a family found you online or by a friend or 2 parents swinging in the park asking, where does your child go to childcare? When was the last time you really took a look at every single piece of it and all the way through the follow-up from the minute they left the tour, etc.? Most programs actually invest a lot of money into their classrooms, into their curriculum, hopefully into your staff. But they invest very little in actually like working on the enrollment experience. And you know how they say you never get a second chance to make a first impression? I'm telling you, this is the dating game. And that gap is actually costing you families, and it's important. So today, what I'm hoping we're going to do is we're going to actually close that gap. We're going to walk through that whole journey, getting inquiries, getting families to show up, running a terrific tour, and then closing strong and following up in a way that actually converts. Because let's face it, this is your livelihood, and every single child in a seat in a classroom is allowing you to operate at better and better quality. So we'll also dig into, I've created a rubric, and we're going to share that again freely today, that you can use to audit your own tour and identify exactly where your gaps are. So let's get started. So first things first. I want to first share with you, before we get into the how, I want to get into the why. I call this conscious competence. It's another whole thing. I could do a webinar just on conscious competence. But if you do a tour and 2 families join out of 5, you might think to yourself, I did a really great job. The question is, why didn't the other 3? So the family tour, bar none, is really your most powerful enrollment tool. You might have a great teacher, you might have great materials, but the dating, that tour is really what you need to do. It's even more powerful than your website, your social media, your brochure, because let's face it, what we see on the dating apps might not be what we really see in real life. I'm telling you, it's like dating. And not only that, but when parents walk through that door, I also want you to recognize that this is one of the most personal decisions a family will ever make. You're a stranger. For all intents and purposes, you are a stranger, and you want them to trust their child with you for 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 hours a day. They also are probably scrolling through social media and have heard really bad horror stories about what could go wrong after the date. So here are some numbers I really want you guys to sit with. No-show rates. Families who schedule a tour and then don't show up. It averages 30 to 50% when programs don't have a strong confirmation process. Think about that. Half of your tours might never happen. So I'm going to get into something that I did another time on a different webinar, but I want to give you an idea here, okay? There is a very powerful manipulation tool, right? That is called the friendship trigger. The friendship trigger is such that when you don't want to do something, but your friend says, oh my gosh, I hope I'm going to see you at my birthday party. Even if you don't want to go, you've got to wash your hair and get your nails done and everything else, buy a new suit, you're going to go. The enrollment process, again, I want you to think about it like dating. If you don't confirm those tours, and we're going to talk about how, you're not going to essentially develop that relationship that will convince these parents that, oh, I can't ditch that tour. I'm never going to go to this school. I'm just going to go and see what it's like. It's kind of like those timeshare presentations, right? Just give us 90 minutes. They know that everybody in their mind says, I'm never going to buy anything, but they do them because they do convert people to sales. You've also got to follow up within 24 hours after the tour, because that will double your conversion rate. It's not a small number. Imagine going from 3 to all 5 of the people that, from 2 to all 5 of the people that were on your tour. And here's the big one. Most centers have actually never formally studied their own tours. That's what we're going to fix today. We're going to call this a pre-mortem, right? A post-mortem is what you do after someone dies or a company dies and you go, what did we do wrong? A pre-mortem is you're going to solve your problems beforehand so your company actually thrives. So let's keep moving. I'm kind of getting into the weeds here a little bit, but let's keep moving. So let's talk about getting inquiries. Making it easier for your families to actually find you and take that first step to just pick up the phone, get on your website, etc. And that's an important part because they have to know that you exist, right? So they have to find you. And before they contact you, I want you to also know that they've already formed an opinion. Your enrollment journey doesn't actually start when a family walks in the door. It starts the moment they type a search into Google or get that referral from a friend, or again, as I said, pushing their child on a swing at the park going, where does little Sally go to school? Oh, ABC preschool. Oh, is it good? They're already forming an opinion. They also form an opinion when they just drive by your building. We call this your digital front door, okay? And your digital front door is important because, again, you're never going to be able to make a second shot at parents who form their first opinion of your center. So let's talk about what this actually means. Your website has one job, by the way. And if you don't have a great website, talk to somebody at Playground. They'll help you fix it. Your website should answer these 5 questions. And if you have a camera, take a picture of this, or you'll download the slides, write it down, jot it down somewhere, but you've got to take notes on this because this is important. How many times have you tried to look at another child care center's website and they don't answer these questions? Don't think that hiding information like cost is actually going to get people to come in the door. In fact, it's going to make them more cautious and already forming opinions about what do you have to hide. So who do you serve? That means ages, hours, location, basic logistics that families need immediately. In fact, I would even put landmarks. So if you're near a Starbucks, put a little logo of Starbucks and go, we have some great places to hang out if you're ever early to pick up or have a few minutes after drop off. Little things that say, we are taking care of you. If I have to drop off my child at 8 and I'm not going right to work because I've got a doctor's appointment, knowing that you've got a Starbucks nearby where I can sit on my laptop and do some work is actually valuable information. What makes you different? This is where most programs are vague. Don't just say child-centered, play-based, da 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 da. I hear that everywhere. Nurturing environment. Every other program on the planet says the same thing. I want you to describe what you do in real language and what sets you apart. Now, I got a call, true story, got a call the other day from a child care center in the middle of the country. They're opening up a child care center, and the competition is a dual immersion programs, whatever it's called. They've got English and Spanish going simultaneously, so kids will learn a second language. I said, well, then you can't do that because somebody's already doing it and probably has a reputation. Why don't you do STEM? The families in your neighborhood, there's a huge medical center and IBM or some tech company, they're probably going to love it if you have a STEM focused program. That'll be your niche. It'll get parents to go, oh, I wonder what this early childhood STEM stuff is. We do want our child to learn a second language, but if you put down that STEM is another language, I actually really believe this. STEM has its own language, math, science, vocabulary, etc. You set yourself apart. What does it cost? You don't have to put everything on here, but parents need to have an idea of the range. Give them enough to know that they can afford you. Are there scholarships? Are there discounts? By the way, never say that you offer a tuition discount for siblings. Always make it never make it a negative money, make it a positive. We give you sibling credit. See how that changes a little bit? What will I see? Have a photo gallery. Make sure if you have a photo gallery though, and there's pictures of children, that all those children have signed photo releases from their parents. No stock photos, no empty rooms. They want to see that what it looks like. And finally, what do I do next? This is really where some of the holes are, and it should be easy. I know that if you're not using Playground, maybe you should, unless your app uses it. But I know that with Playground, and for those of you who don't know, this Playground was actually built for me when I was a preschool director. So it's got all the bells and whistles that I told my own sons I needed in a child care center. You should be able to book it right there on the website. Don't even let them wait. Don't make them call. They might be looking at your website at 11 o'clock at night, which is the only spare moment they have. They should be able to book that tour right there on the spot. And take 10 minutes after this webinar, pull up your website and ask yourself, if I'm a brand new family, are these 5 questions actually answered on my website? And if not, you have some work to do. Great. I don't see any questions in the chat. I must be doing really well. Great. By the way, can I just get a yes or a no? Am I talking too fast? Just right? Like we'll play 3 Little Pigs or Goldilocks and the 3 Bears. Fast, slow, just right. Can somebody give me a... just right. Okay, Haley, thank you. Thank you. Okay, great. I never know because I tend to talk very fast. Okay, so now let's talk about the first response sets. Oh my God, everybody. Thank you. Oh my gosh, I'm getting some love here. Okay, great. So let's talk about the first response. The moment a family reaches out is a critical moment. Again, think dating. Imagine if a guy or a girl reaches out to you, texts you, says, hey, I'd like to meet, and they don't hear from you for 2 or 3 days. Again, dating. I want you to have that dating analogy in your mind. What would you think about somebody who doesn't respond to you for 2 or 3 days? The moment somebody reaches out and says, hey, I'm interested in you, how you respond or don't respond tells them everything about the kind of partner you're going to be. And remember, this is a partnership. You really should respond the same business day, ideally within a couple hours if it's during business hours. If it's that family that responded at 11 o'clock at night when you get to the office in the morning, I don't think you need to respond at midnight. It'll make you look a little weird. They'll wonder what you're doing up so late at night, what's wrong with the preschool that she doesn't have or he doesn't have regular hours. But respond the same day, ideally within a few hours. And for families who are actively searching for childcare, they're often contacting 3 or 4 programs at once. The program that responds most quickly will probably be the one that they feel most warmly attached to and the one that they'll remember, right? Again, think about dating. The one who seems they're really interested in you is the one that you're going to want to go with. Use their names. Now, I have to tell you, I have a hole in my head. I wear my hair long so you don't see it, but there's a hole in there. I don't respond. I don't remember people's names. Figure out a way to keep stickies or something, a mnemonic device, something to remember names. Use the child's name or age. Nothing says we copied and pasted this like a generic reply that could have gone to anybody. Oh my gosh, Harmony, I saw that you've joined our tour on Thursday. I'm so excited that you and little Billy are going to be showing up. And by the way, little Billy should be allowed to come on the tour. I know that makes it kind of hard, but you can have a tour that you say no children allowed, and you should have tours that say children welcome. Different parents are going to look for different kinds of things. Don't make them also play a scheduling ping pong. Offer them 2 or 3 times right in your first message. Or have a Calendly, if you know what that is, where they can automatically book the tour that they want. Don't have this thing like a metronome going back and forth. And they're like, oh my God, this is too complicated. I'm not going to this childcare center. Just make it done. People work, they have other responsibilities. They want to know that you are going to make their lives easier. And then acknowledge how they found you. If it's someone who is referred by a current family, that's a relationship moment. It means so much to us that the Johnson family sent you our way. We love the Johnson family, and we hope that you trust their decision to join us, and hopefully you'll join us as well. As a matter of fact, we strive to build a community here, and knowing that you know another family here will just strengthen the community feel altogether. By the way, that sentence cost you no money, but it earned you so much goodwill. And then you reach out to the Johnson family and you say, the Schwartz family just booked a tour. We're so thankful, grateful that you referred someone to us. And as always, invite them to share any questions or needs they might have before they arrive. Does your child or anybody have any allergies? Anything you want us to be aware of before you come so we can make that tour as pleasant and inviting as possible. We're really excited that you've chosen to come see our school. You want them to know that you're already thinking about them. It's the same thing like a date where the guy or the girl says, hey, do you have any allergies? I want to take you to a restaurant. Tell me more about you so I can choose the right location. Again, remember, always dating. And now getting families to show up. This is, again, and I cannot tell you how sad it is when I prepare for a tour and these families just don't show up. And I know that you're going to feel that as well. So let's not dwell on what has happened and let's try to fix it. So you've gotten the inquiry. They've set up a time where they're going to come. You've responded warmly and quickly. You've done all those things right so far. And they've said yes to a tour and then they don't show up. And you're like, I'm frustrated. What did I do wrong? So this module now, what we're going to talk about now is moving from the yes, we'd love to come to the moment they actually walk in your door. So let's talk about how to make that bridge smaller, easier, and more reliable. So first of all, scheduling that works. If you're scheduling around your timetable, you are doing something that is the opposite, probably, than what parents actually need. You've got to think like a caregiver, like a parent, like a mother, a father, a grandmother, a nanny, an uncle, a stepmom, a adopted parent, whatever it is. Most families who are looking for childcare, think about this, have at least one parent or somebody in the household who is working full time. Ergo, I need childcare. So Tuesday at 10 is not going to work. You're smack in the middle of the day. You need to have options. And that is going to be the difference between no show and more show, right? I'm not going to get 100%. I'm just going to have to accept that. But no show to more show. So offer morning tours before drop-off time, a midday option, and at least one early evening slot, either each week, each month, whenever you schedule your tours. They don't have to be all the time. If you can do a Saturday morning, do it. Saturday morning or Sunday morning tours fill faster than anything, I promise. They come as a whole family. It's a family event. You get to meet everybody. Remember what I said in the beginning. You're trying to make a friendship trigger happen here. When the whole family comes, one parent doesn't have to say, well, I have to check with my spouse. They're going to want to come see it too. No, you want to get them all in at once if possible. Make booking frictionless. Can someone schedule a tour from their phone in under 2 minutes? If not, that's a problem you can fix this week. Now, and this is important, so take note. When a family schedules, don't just put it in your calendar and move on. Gather some information. What is the child's name? What's their date of birth? What age group are they looking to enter? Do you have space? When are they hoping to start? Do they have any specific questions or concerns? And then brief your team. Let your team know all of these important details. The tour lead, whoever is leading that tour, it might be you, it might be an assistant director. I actually only had parents. And I'll talk to you a little bit at the end about how I ran my actual tours, but I didn't run the tours. It was too salesy. I had parents running the tours. The front desk should know to expect them. It should never be that somebody shows up and goes, hi, I'm here for the tour. Oh, I don't have you written down. Make sure everybody knows what's going on. And when a family arrives, the receptionist says, oh, you must be the Johnson family. We're so glad you're here. Again, magic that costs nothing. We're also going to talk about safety a little later on. What this does is it tells the family, oh, there's communication here. Everybody knows what's going on. Everybody's attuned to what's going on. I feel a little safer already. So this is important. Now, what you send between scheduling and the tour. And this is also really important because, as I said, it lends to that friendship trigger, it lends to safety and security, etc. So the confirmation should go out right away. And I don't mean just a calendar invite that they pop into their calendar. That's cold. Everybody does that. I mean a real warm human message that makes this family feel expected and excited. Your confirmation should include the date, the time, and how long the tour will take. What is parking like? Do I need a permit? Is there meters? Will I need quarters? Is there an app? If there is a difficulty with parking, make it easy. Don't make parking become an issue for families, because if parking is an issue, we're not coming to the center. Nothing is more stressful than showing up somewhere with a new toddler and not knowing where to go or where to park. Who are they going to meet? Who's going to lead the tour? What's their name? And a sentence that expresses genuine excitement. We can't wait to meet you and Emma and show you around. And an invitation to send questions or concerns or needs ahead of time with an email directly to you. Then send a reminder 24 hours before and another one the morning of the tour. Yep, I know what you're thinking, but yes, 2 reminders. It's not annoying. This is service. People are busy. Life is hectic. Life happens in the morning. Emma's waking up. She's screaming. She's hollering. She's got poop in her diaper. She doesn't want to eat her Cheerios. And mom's phone dings and goes, reminder, you've got a tour in a half hour. And mom is able to look at Emma and go, Emma, you want to go play? And now it's another reminder. I'd rather you send too many than not enough. And the warm reminder says, we're so looking forward to seeing you and Emma tomorrow. Keep the tour on the top of their priority list, and it dramatically reduces no-shows. Make them feel expected, make them feel important, because they are. They are. These families are and should be important. Remember the motto, the customer comes first. So let's reduce those no-shows. And to reduce those no-shows, let's talk about the ghost. The family who says yes, who schedules, and then just ghosts you, doesn't show up. No call, no text, no explanation, nothing. So here's the thing. And I want you to remember this always. On one hand, it might have nothing to do with you. It could be that grandma got sick. You know, believe it or not, I have 67 doc students. I'm a doctoral advisor in a degree program, and I'm chairing 19 dissertations. And I had a meeting. I do the same thing with my doc students. Hey, I'm really looking forward to meeting you. We have a meeting coming up, and a student just the other day, true story, said, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you checked in on me. I actually just had to call 911 for my dad. I'm so sorry I can't make it today. Now, again, if somebody says this to you for a tour, you might think, oh, just an excuse. I emailed that student. I didn't want to call because, I don't know what's going on. Emailed that student again the next day and said, hey, I'm just checking on you and your dad. And she emailed me back and said, oh my gosh, thank you so much for checking in. He passed last night. Always judge people on the, if you've got the scales, judge them on the positive, not the negative. So if somebody doesn't show, first things first, a simple email that says, hi, you were signed up for the tour yesterday and I noticed you didn't show up. I'm just reaching out to make sure everything's okay and if there's anything I can do. And leave it at that. Because that's what you would do if they were already in your center. You want to show that that's the kind of person and the kind of center you are. Most of the time when they show up, it's not about your program. It's either something happened or it's about friction and communication. They found another option they're really excited about and they didn't know how to cancel with you, or they couldn't figure out parking and decided it was too stressful, or they got a cold, or they called 911 on grandpa. Now, the best thing you can do is send a reminder that feels personal. Not reminder, tour on Thursday at 10 a.m. Instead, something like, hey, Sarah, just a note to, we're looking forward to seeing you and your family tomorrow. We've got the art room all set for your daughter, Ella. Parking is easy. Just pull up to the front lot. That's it. No friction. And here's something programs don't do enough about. Make rescheduling easy and judgment-free. Sometimes life genuinely gets in the way. And when it does, families may feel like they're being judged or they're embarrassed or what have you, and they'll just disappear. A quick warm, hey, no worries at all. We'd love to find another time that works for you better, keeps that door open. Never send one reminder, always send two. All right. Oh, and look at that. Thank you, Harmony. Harmony just showed you a way that you can personalize this with Playground. And again, if anybody came here late, full disclosure, Playground was built for me. If those of you don't know the story, I actually went up to my boys one day because I was literally losing families. I said, oh my God, the app on my phone is not working well. Can you guys fix it? And my boys at the time said, oh, Mom, that app isn't really good. We'll just make you a new one. And they then ended up sitting in my office in the child care center for 6 months, watching what I did, what parents did, what the teachers did, what children did, what I couldn't do because I was stuck in my office like a ball and chain. And so they made all these bells and whistles for me. Okay, so now let's talk about the arrival and welcome. Okay. Whoa. I want you to think about the last tour that you gave, right? The last tour. I want you to think about what was intentional about it, what was not intentional about it. Did it have a very clear arc? Like, did you have a plan of attack? Or was it more just a walkthrough and like you kind of did it by the seat of your pants? Here's the classroom, here's the playground. Any questions? A great tour is not a walkthrough. Again, think dating. A great date is not, hi, my name is Tamar. I like long walks on the beach and I like Mexican food. No. It's a guided interpretation of your program and of you. It is you helping a family connect with what they see in front of them to the promises that you've made on your website and messaging. That distinction, a walkthrough versus a guided interpretation, is everything. And I'm going to show you exactly what I mean. By the way, you can copy this. It's the most sincere form of flattery or whatever it's called. So everything happens in the first 5 minutes, right? You never get a second chance to make a first impression. So let's be very intentional. Families should know they're in the right place before they even get out of the car. Your exterior signage matters. Your parking situation matters. If they circle the block twice, they're already flustered and frustrated. The moment they walk in, they should be greeted within 60 seconds by name. Not, hi, are you here for the tour? But, oh, you must be the Garcia family. Welcome. I'm so glad you made it. And this must be Sophia. Watch what happens to a parent's face when you say their child's name first. The child matters too, because let me tell you, if that little child is 2, 3, or 4 and they're not happy, the parents don't want to feel that guilt of putting the child somewhere where they don't belong. Do you like dinosaurs? We have a whole dinosaur section in our library. Oh, you've just made an ally, and the parents noticed. Your entry, your lobby, your hallways should be clean, calm, and uncluttered. What families see first matters most. And this one is not negotiable. This, put it away. Full attention, no interruptions. If you've got to keep it in your back pocket, which I did, I always said, listen, my phone is off, but if it vibrates a certain way or rings a certain way, I know it's an emergency. I will take it. Otherwise, you've got my full attention. So now the tour structure and flow. And this is, again, important. It's not just a by the seat of your pants. It's a interpretation. A strong tour has 3 parts: a beginning, a middle, and an end. I know that that sounds obvious, but I've observed tours that were just a walk in a circle. That's not a tour. That's a hallway. The beginning is where you set up the entire experience. Before you take a single step, ask this family what they're hoping most to see today. What questions are already in their head? What matters most to them? Is it the outdoor space? Is it the infant room? The after-school program? Now you know where to spend most of your time. That's the beginning. The middle is the guided interpretation I mentioned. As you walk, you're not just pointing, you're explaining. You'll notice the reading corner is in the quietest part of the classroom. That's intentional. Research shows that children need a calm space to practice early literacy. You're connecting what they see with why it matters. It's also showing that you have what I call conscious competence. You not only do the right things, you know why you're doing them, and you're personalizing it. If their child is 18 months, you're spending more time in the infant toddler spaces. If they have a picky eater, you're talking about your meal program. You're not giving the same tour to every family unless you've got a few families at the same time. And the end is where the programs consistently fail. I'll do more on that coming up, but for now, just know that you've got to have a clear ending, a recap, some next steps, and you'll see something for them to take home. Again, you're going to feel free to copy whatever I give you here. So I want to show you something intentional that I used to do on my tours. I would take them around the classrooms and I would show them children's drawings. Excuse me, one sec. I talk too much. And what I would do is I would point to the pictures on the wall. And I would say, I know that many of you are probably asking yourself, is my child going to learn to read? The question isn't, is your child going to learn to read? Every child learns how to read, unless they have a very obvious learning disability, but those can be corrected as well. Every child will learn to read. The question we really ask here at ABC Little School is, when should we help your child to read? So I want you to see, again, conscious competence. Not only do we know what to do, we know why we're doing it. If you look at the picture on the left, you'll notice that little Johnny, pretend these are 2 different kids. Little Johnny drew a picture of a person kind of floating in space, right? That person floating in space doesn't have their ground in the picture, meaning that their legs aren't touching the ground. And that's important for us because that means that the child's brain is not yet ready to learn how to read. How do I know that? Because when a child understands object orientation in space, they know that a human stands on the ground, right? Object orientation in space. Now look at those 4 letters. Hopefully you all can see those. They're all the same letter. The only difference is object orientation in space, right? How can a child actually interpret or decode, we say, which letter is which if they don't understand object orientation in space? So if the child over here, this picture, the child's person is still floating on the page, you can actually see that the brain cells are starting to stretch down, right? Because it's not scribble scrabble, but they're not ready yet. Now, if you look at this picture on the right, you will notice that Becky has now drawn a person grotesquely stretching those legs all the way down to the bottom of the page. Why? Because Becky has object orientation in space. She understands that the sun is up at the top, the legs go to the bottom, and when Becky starts learning how to read, she'll be able to decode these in a heartbeat because she understands object orientation in space. And as I tour them through the 2s, 3s, and 4s, I tell them to look at the paintings and the pictures that the children have drawn on the walls, and you'll notice how their pictures evolve from pre-literacy skills to literacy skills. Pretty cool, right? I think that is one of the coolest things I do on the tours, and it very much impresses parents to understand that we know what we're doing and why we're doing it. So what families are really watching? And here's the other part of this. I can regale you with all my professor lingo and everything else that I know how to talk about, but parents are really looking at three things all at the same time, consciously, subconsciously, subliminally. They're evaluating your family on, is my child safe? Will my child thrive? And do we belong here? So question number one, is my child safe? This is primal, folks. This is every parent's worst nightmare, is that God forbid something should happen to their child at childcare and they will be on the headline of the 10 o'clock news. Before anything else, a parent needs to believe their child will not be harmed in your care. They're looking at entry security. They're watching how the staff respond to children. They're noticing if hands are being washed. Number two, will my child thrive? Do I see my child fitting in? This is about joy and growth. Are the children they see happy? Are teachers getting on the floor with the kids? Does the curriculum make sense for where their child is developmentally? And question three, do we belong here? And this is the one that programs will often miss. By the way, I only used to do tours that were once every 2 weeks with about 40 people, but I had a child care center of about 380 kids, 40 people. And one of the things I had them do is I said, I want you to look around the room and decide if these people look like folks you'd want to be friends with. Because I can tell you that to this day, the friends that I travel the world with, that I count on to be there for me in my darkest hour and share my happiest joys, are the parents I met at birthday parties when my kids were in preschool. And to this day, we are still friends. They're looking at the photos on the walls. They're noticing whether leadership is present or whether they're being passed off to a junior staff member. All three questions need to be answered with what you say and with what they see. And so they are going to look at your environment. By the way, I love this playground. If you notice, this playground is child-friendly. It's got very little plastic. It's got lots of loose parts. I couldn't take pictures with the kids in it, and you can't see all the way in the back. But I happen to love this child care center playground. The classroom and the playground tell families everything. Before you even say a word, they are reading the room, they are reading the playgrounds, they are reading everything. What earns trust? Spaces that look actively used, not staged, not Pinterest perfect, real art on the walls that was actually made by children, books that are a little worn because little fingers have bent them and read them, a block structure that is still half built because someone ran out to lunch and they're going to finish it later. What damages trust instantly? Clutter. Clutter that suggests disorganization, broken materials that haven't been replaced, adult-only decor. Just because Lakeshore sells it doesn't mean it has to be plastered all over the walls. No evidence that children live and learn there, or the opposite. A room that is so perfectly arranged, it looks like no child has ever touched anything, and you could operate heart surgery in that room. Outdoor spaces matter enormously to families. Think about it. Many of us, I'm only 20, but I am old enough to remember a time where it didn't matter so much what I did in school because the best part of my life was outside of school when I ran through the neighborhood with my friends and no adults. Now children are under the watchful eyes of adults every minute. You even have monitors in their rooms, and when they sleep, you hear every sound and every breath they take. A maintained, interesting outdoor area signals that you take physical development and play seriously. A muddy, uninspiring yard, or a yard that only has a jungle gym that's plastic and nothing else, no loose parts, signals either neglect or sterility. And please, bathrooms, families, notice bathrooms, sanitary, organized, child height, that's the standard. Before every tour, walk all the spaces that a family will see and ask yourself, what story does this room tell about us? And then you have the curriculum story, right? What does the curriculum say about your child care center? And here is the most common tour failure I see: a beautiful program that can't explain itself. What does play-based mean? What is Reggio, right? The tour guide walks a family through an incredible classroom with intentionalist parts, documentation, and says, this is our 3-year-old room. And that's it. And the family nods, and then they walk out. They have no idea what they just saw. Your job during the tour, remember, is to be an interpreter. When a family sees children sorting rocks at a light table, you don't say they love that activity. You say, we set up this provocation to support early mathematical thinking and sensory exploration. You can see how Mia is organizing them by color. That's classification, which is a foundational math and literacy skill. Do you see the difference? That is important because, again, that also goes back to, can I trust this place? Well, gosh, she really sounds like she knows what she's doing. I'm going to give you another one of those manipulation triggers. It's called the authority trigger. How many of you have ever gone to a dentist and the dentist said you need a filling and you didn't get a second opinion? You just trusted the dentist. Well, because they're an authority, right? But if the dentist said, hey, I think there's something wrong in your tooth, we'll do something, and didn't explain themselves, you wouldn't think twice about getting a second opinion because I don't feel comfortable with this dentist. Same thing goes for childcare, even more so. You've got to interpret what they see to make them trust you and to make them see that you are an authority in the early childhood space. Now, that parent will understand why their tuition is worth it, why it's not just babysitting, why this is an early childhood program worth investing my hard-earned money on my child for. And this is a skill, by the way. It can be taught. I want you to think about who on your team leads tours right now and whether they can tell your educational story fluently in plain language in 3 minutes or less. If they can't, that's something you can actually train, practice, role play, record yourselves, and then learn how to do it. Because a family who leaves your tour thinking, I'm not really sure what they do there, is a family that's going to enroll somewhere else. All right, I'm going to take a stop for 1 minute. Are there any questions? I think we're at about the right? Are we at about the halfway part? Okay, great. And I'm at about halfway of my slides, so it's perfect. I'm just rolling here. All right, no questions? I'm doing such a good job. There's no questions. Okay, let's keep going then. Health, safety, and compliance. As I said before, families are, safety to a family is not a checkbox. Maybe having, a certain material on the playground is a checkbox, but health and safety is not a checkbox. It's central to where a family actually trusts you. In fact, I got so neurotic about health and safety that I became a CPR instructor really for my own center because a CPR teacher had shown up and had not trained my staff at all. And I was crying because I thought, oh my God, if somebody chokes or God forbid gets hurt, my teachers won't know what to do. And my assistant director at the time socked me in the arm and said, oh my God, just learn to do it yourself. You're going to care more. And so I did. And now I go across the country and I train people in CPR, but only in childcare centers because I care. And the good news is that strong safety practices are actually very visible. They don't need much in the way of an explanation. When you point them out, you're actually building confidence. So what you want to do is you want to walk your families past your licensing postings, show them that you're licensed, explain your entry system. We use a keypad entry or staff verify each adult pickup. I know Playground has like door locks. You can get a special door thing that only opens with the app. Mention your ratios. In this room, we maintain a 1-to-4 ratio, which is lower than state standards. Again, if you're doing better than state standards, by all means, point that out. Also, if your staff are educated, point that out. I don't know where many of you are from. Some of you told me, but in most states in the country, there are no requirements for early childhood education. I know that in California, some of you are from California, the requirements for teacher is just 12 units. That's not much. But if you can say that all your teachers have at least an AA degree in early childhood, or all your lead teachers have at least 24 units, that's huge. If there's hand washing stations, make sure they're visible, point them out. And if you have any visible allergy documentation or medication policies, mention them. Especially families who have kids with allergies, they are actively looking for these kinds of cues. And make sure that every tour that your licensing documents are posted, current and visible. This is actually a compliance requirement, but it's also a trust signal, right? A family who sees a current license on the wall knows you're operating above board. And then, I said something about staff, but let's talk about staff, because your parents are not just evaluating your classrooms. Obviously, parents are going to know within seconds whether the adults in your building like working there. So imagine a parent walks into your center and the teachers go like this. Right? Oh my gosh, really? Think about what it communicates when a teacher does that versus when a tour walks in and the teacher is on the floor, fully engaged with children, or when a class assistant looks up, smiles at the visiting families, and then goes back to what she's doing. That's a message. That says this is a good place. Adults are happy here. Children are well cared for here. By the way, nothing says happiness like stopping at Starbucks on your way to work the day of a tour and giving it to the teachers. Now, think about what it communicates when staff looks stressed, or when a teacher is, oh my God, doing this. When parents walk in, oh my God, horror. Make sure your team knows when tours are scheduled. By the way, you want your staff to not have to feel fake during a tour, but they also should know that a tour is coming, right? You never want to, honey, our guests for dinner are here. You didn't tell me we were having guests for dinner, right? They need to know, right? They need to know. And make sure also that they extend the same warm welcome that you gave. Leadership needs to be visible. If you're the director, families want to meet you, obviously. A 2-minute introduction from the director carries more weight than 10 minutes of a tour guide. So I told you I would tell you how I did it. When I had tours, everybody would come into the lobby. By the way, have food. Always have food. Why? I am not going to be happy if I'm on an empty stomach. I had to get the kids out of the house today. It was bedlam. I didn't eat anything. And now I'm grouchy. I'm hangry. Parents will not make good decisions when they're hungry or hangry. If you have a few nibbles in that lobby while they're waiting for the tour to start, it says you thought about them. It also makes them more amenable to actually walk on the tour, not rush you, and feel like this is a good, happy thing. So always have either a picture of something, a coffee machine, an espresso machine, whatever it is, and some little bites. Again, all of this says we're happy you're here. We planned for you, etc. All right. Let's talk about family fit, inclusion, and belonging. Programs will lose families here more than anywhere else. And sometimes they don't even know it. A family who asks about a child's dietary restrictions and gets a very vague, oh, we try to accommodate, does not feel very safe and welcoming. A family who asks whether you serve children with developmental delays and gets a defensive response will walk out the door. I know I raised a child with developmental delays, with a therapeutic companion, etc. Answer hard questions clearly. Make sure you know your policies ahead of time. and be compassionate. But by the grace of God, go any of your children or your family members. So yes, we work with these families. We also receive speech therapy here on premises if you need. Here's how we coordinate with outside providers. You'll notice there's allergy signs on doors, what foods are allowed, not allowed in certain rooms. Think about the physical environment too. What images are on the wall? What languages are represented? What cultures, what peoples, what holidays, what languages, anything that you think will make parents feel more welcome. Families from marginalized communities notice these things immediately. And by the way, check your website again. What images of peoples are on your website or your brochures? If your program has a specific religious, pedagogical, cultural identity, whatever it is, share it openly and warmly. Don't hide it and don't use it as a filter. We are a Catholic early childhood center, and our community deeply values belonging and inquiry. Whether you're Catholic or not, families who share those values thrive here. That's inclusive. That's welcoming. Because let's face it, families want what's convenient. And sometimes they might be Buddhists, but the Catholic preschool is the most convenient for them. They want to know that they're welcome there. The goal is simple. Every family who tours your program should leave feeling seen, respected, and genuinely welcomed, whether they enroll or not, because it might not be a good fit for them. Maybe the hours or the location, they came and toured anyways. But they might recommend you to a friend who's Catholic or who needs a school in that location. So always, even if they don't enroll, leave them satisfied. And then your tuition. Now, as I said before, I want to be honest with you. And this is where your website and everything else probably is a pitfall for many of you. Not because families can't afford it, but because they don't understand it. You know, imagine a car. If you got a car without this sticker, I don't understand half the things on the sticker in the window of a car, but I like knowing that it's there in case I needed it, right? If a family leaves your tour still unclear about what they'd be paying, when they have to pay it, whether there's a deposit, what happens if they need to withdraw, that uncertainty becomes a barrier. And barriers become non-enrollments. By the way, if you are low on enrollment and you really want them to sign, tell them that anybody who came on the tour today and begins the application will not need to put the deposit down. It's worthwhile giving up a little bit of money to secure that enrollment. You don't have to do it always, but it's that, come look at this vacation share, timeshare, and if you sign today, you get all these perks, right? And here's the reframing that I want you to carry with you when you're working with these families. When they ask, how much does this cost? They're not really asking, how much does it cost? They're also asking, is this really worth it? How many times have you spent more than you thought you should on a dinner, on a dress, on a suit, on a car, on something? But you did it because you thought there was value in spending that extra money. Your job during the tuition conversation is to help them understand, right? Interpret what they're buying, what's included. What does your curriculum approach mean for child development? What does having a STEM-centered focus mean? The programs that lose families here are the ones that treat tuition as a necessary, awkward conversation to get through. The programs that win treat it as one more opportunity to communicate value. If you have subsidy options or accept financial assistance, explain it. Many families who qualify don't ask because they're embarrassed. Take the awkwardness out of it. It's the most important thing I can tell you. All right, and now we're going to go to the closing. Oh, we're kind of winding down. Have I been doing this already for an hour? I feel like it's been 10 minutes. I'm having fun. I hope you guys are still engaged. So you've done everything great inquiry response. They showed up, fantastic tour, and then nothing. 3 days pass, a week passes, they've moved on and enrolled somewhere else. So let's get into how to make sure this closes. This is actually something that I did. And if you notice those little orange bags, this was a big deal for me. I would have some parent volunteers. This is not the color of my preschool. My preschool's colors were more like the blue on this cap. And I would have them make homemade Play-Doh, the color of my preschool colors. And when the tour was almost over, the office manager would put these down where the food was. So the food would go bye-bye and these would go in instead. And on the front was my business card, which had my email and my phone number. And on the back was an address label with the recipe for homemade Play-Doh. Why? So that way, number one, they'd know what was in it. So if the child had celiac, for example, don't take it because it had flour. But most families actually ended up taking it. And it was a really cool thing to take with you. Not just papers, not a pen, not a, whatever, a folder, but actually something that said, we still care about you even on your way out. And so the closing, right? Most of the time, here's what I hear. Well, let me know if you have any questions, right? That's how most people close their tour. Let me know if you have any questions. That's not a close. That's an invitation to drift away. When a tour ends, you need to make 3 things crystal clear. Write those down. What they saw, what the next step is, and when it happens. Recap what resonated. It sounds like you were really excited when I took you outdoors today to the outdoor classroom and the small group size. I saw that you didn't know much about loose parts, but you were intrigued by it. Those are things that, I'm really proud of. The whole school staff is really proud of what we're doing here. You're reminding them of the connection and reinforcing it. Then connect your program specifically to your child. Based on what you've shared about where, your daughter Mia is developmentally, I think our toddler room would be a great fit. I think she'd really love some of those items that you saw, especially that you pointed out. This is personalized. It's not a sales script. It's personalized. We're dating. I'm making this relationship stronger. And then name the next step. Not let us know if you'd like to move forward or if you have any questions. Instead, I want you to say this. The next step is to complete the application. It takes about 10 minutes and it holds your spot in our system. Simple, specific, and actionable. And then ask, do you have any remaining questions before we get started? Or are you ready to take the next step today? You're not being pushy, I promise. You're being clear. Families who are genuinely interested appreciate clarity. They're relieved to have the path forward kind of laid out for them. And then you've got the follow-up. And as I said now, probably a bazillion times, right? Programs that follow up within 24 hours, they convert dramatically, much higher rates than anybody else. The reason is obvious when you think about it. Families are making too many decisions in real time. They've got toddlers, kids, work, life, a broken washing machine, all happening at the same time. Life is happening and other programs are following up too. And if it's a tie, first place goes, right? First place goes to the one who gets there first. So follow up within 24 to 48 hours, but I say 24. Every time, no exceptions. It needs to be a system, not a good intention. You have to make that an actual system. Who's going to do it, et cetera. And it needs to be personal. This is where a generic follow-up probably looks something like this. Dear prospective family, thank you for touring our program. We hope you enjoyed your visit. Please don't hesitate to reach out with questions. Delete. I delete you. There is nothing in that email I need to keep or hold on to. That message tells the family, you're one of many. We could care less of you. Here's what a personal follow-up looks like. Hi, Harmony. It was so wonderful meeting you and Mia yesterday. She clearly loved the sensory table. I wanted to follow up with you on your question about the toddler schedule and also let you know that we have 2 spots available in our January cohort. That message tells the family, I remember you, I noticed your child, and we're still thinking about you. Reference the tour, mention the child, answer the question, restate the next step. That's the follow-up that converts. So Strategies that work, right? Exactly. And let me give you 3 specific tools. Tool 1 is the specific email that I just told you. It goes out within 24 hours from you or from the tour lead, uses the child's name, right? Mentioned everything else. Tool 2 is a personal text. For many families, I know I'm only 20, I'm very young. I've been 20 like 3 times. Especially younger families, though, text is their primary communication channel. So a short, warm text that says, so glad we got to meet Liam today. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm happy to chat by phone too. Incredibly effective. It doesn't feel automated. It sounds human. And then tool 3 is the 2-week check-in. Not every family will decide immediately. Some are comparing programs. Some are waiting for financial situations to resolve to see if they're going to be moved to Portland for work. Some just need more time. So the 2-week check-in says, we're still here. We still want you. No pressure. Share a small update. We just set up a new garden. Would love to see you if you'd like to come in again and see it. But again, you need a system for all 3 of these. Who sends them? When exactly? How? Write it down, assign it, and hold to it. If you just have the intention to do it, you know it's not going to happen. It's kind of like the diet you keep saying is going to start tomorrow. And then let's talk about the tour audit. So in the beginning of this whole thing, I told you that I've created a tour audit rubric. And it's actually a really cool document. Harmony, what's the best way to get folks that document?
So I am going to put it into the chat right now, and it's also going to appear on screen for everyone.
Oh my God. You are so, Harmony, you are just hearts to you. See, that is this. We are giving you a tour of how to do a tour, and Harmony is just a great, okay. So for those of you that are here, if you want to open this up, and I will explain to you how to use this. It is an actual tool. It's actually quite fantastic. I designed this to give you a structured, comprehensive way to really evaluate your own tour experience. I don't want you to base this on a gut feeling. I got to tell you, so many directors tell me, yeah, I know it's good. I know whatever. But I want you to actually do this. It's across 12 domains, and you should have access to this now. Let me walk you through how it works. So, first of all, what is a tour audit rubric? It covers everything we talked about today and a whole lot more. It's organized into 12 sections. Each has about 7 or 8, I think, specific observable indicators, 96 data points across your entire enrollment experience. I want you to think about that. If you get all 96, really great, that's a high score. But what makes this rubric a little bit different from a simple checklist is that each item is rated 1 through 4. So you're not just checking it off, you're actually rating yourself. You're asking not, do we do this? You're asking, how well do we do this? And that's the difference. There's a big difference between checking a box and understanding actually where you are. So there are 2 ways to use this. First, as a live tour observation. Either you, or if you're leading the tour, somebody else, like, you get one of your friends to come in. A trusted observer watches a real tour and scores it as it happens. Second, as a systems review, you sit down with your documentation, your communication templates, your website, your staff handbook, and you evaluate your systems even when a tour is not taking place. The best programs use both. I recommend re-auditing at least every 6 to 12 months. The tour experience changes as your team changes, as your community changes. Treat it as a living document. And then you have the rating scale. And I've got the slides going up as you're looking at the tour at the tour audit, so you can look at either one. But the rating scale is really straightforward. But I want you to spend a moment on what each number actually means. A 4 is exemplary. That's what we're all striving for. You're consistently strong, family-centered. It aligns with your mission. Here's the important part. Families would notice it. If you took this indicator away, families would notice the absence. that's a 4, right? If this wasn't there in your childcare center anymore, parents would notice its absence. That's why it's a 4. It's that strongly needed. A 3 is strong, mostly effective, minor gaps, but here's my challenge to you. Don't settle for 3s. Even if they're not telling you, recurring 2s in a category signal a systemic problem. But if you're so close, if you've got a 3 and you're so close to a 4, ask yourself, what would it take to move to a 4, right? The 2, the developing, here is where families are noticing these weaknesses. Oh my God, families notice this, even if they're not telling you they're noticing it. And a 2 is really not a one-time problem. This is probably a big problem you've got to deal with. 1 is DEFCON, right? This is critical stage. This is an indicator that is actively working against you, actually. Anyone in any area is related. Any time you have a 1 in any area related to safety, responsiveness, or follow-up should be treated as an emergency correction, not to do next quarter. NO means not observed. Why didn't they observe this? Follow-up, you got to figure out why. And then the 12 domains, I'm just going to list them here for you in case you're not opening up or you're on your phone and you can't open that document. The 12 domains, 1 through 4 cover the pre-tour experience. 5 through 8 cover the tour experience themselves. 9 through 12 is the family relationship and follow-up. And domain 12 is about whether your program actually tracks its own enrollment funnel. Do you know your show-up rate? Do you know your tour to application conversion? Do you know why families who toured didn't enroll? Most programs don't. And if you don't know your numbers, gosh, you can't improve them. So pull out your rubric and look at where you naturally feel confident and where you feel a little less sure. And that gut senses data. Start there. And then how to use the rubric. So using the rubric is actually pretty simple. 6-step process if you want. Step 1, fill out the program information section before you do anything else. Date, who's auditing, tour type, child's age, how the family found you. This helps you spot patterns over time. Keep these in a file folder and look at these, and hopefully you'll continue to see growth, right? So your numbers will improve over time. Step 2 is to observe a tour, score each indicator. Step 3 is complete the scoring summary. Now you have a picture of where you're strongest and where you need work. Step 4 is to flag any of those 1s immediately. Don't even wait for a team meeting. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Step 5 is to complete the priority action planning table. And step 6 is put the next audit date in your calendar right now, 6 months from today, because it only works if you come back to it. Now, I also have a list of red flags that depress enrollment. The rubric includes these, and I want to spend a moment on it because these are the indicators most directly correlated to families not enrolling in your center. And what are they? So, slow inquiry response, a cold or rushed greeting, cluttered or poorly maintained places, no clear ask or follow-up, scan the list, you've got it on the rubric, etc. And then turning scores into action, your priority action plan. Again, where are you going to make improvements? What are you going to do really quickly? What are you going to, what's your high, your medium, and your low urgency? And celebrate wins. When you do an audit and you score from like a 2 to a 4 or a 1 to a 4, celebrate with your staff, make a big deal out of it. That's real improvement. You can even tell families about this on tours, because nothing is better than telling folks that you are continuously working on improving your center. And the other thing I want to tell you is that I know that we've covered a lot. I know that we've covered a lot here today. I want to bring it down, though, to 5 things, and you've got them right here to do, not someday, but do this week. Time your inquiry responses. Today, have someone submit an inquiry through your website. How long does it take for the response to happen? Audit your website as a new family. Read your tour confirmation out loud. Map your tour route intentionally. Role play. I mean, there's so much stuff that you can do. You can I don't need to read the slide for you, but there's a lot that you can actually get done. And I want to thank you also, genuinely. You guys all showed up today. You care about getting this right for families, for children. We need to really strengthen childcare in general. Every family that walks through your door is making one of the biggest decisions of their life. Honor that. The way you respond, the way you behave really matters. And now hopefully you have one more tool in your tool belt. Take them back to your program and use them. And I would love to hear how it goes. You're going to get my information in a minute. And go land some perfect tours. This is what, Harmony, you want to talk about this for a minute? I'm going to stop talking. I got to stop talking for a second.
Sure. So a lot of you filled out our pre-webinar questionnaire on how you run tours in your own center. So there were a lot of common themes of struggling to ask for the enrollment after the tour, and get families to actually convert. So I hope that what Tamar covered today filled in some gaps and things that you can do to optimize not just what you do leading up to the tour, but also during the tour, and also what you say after to make families really feel like they belong at your program. We also would like to invite you to a more personalized small group workshop where Tamar's going to bring her expertise and go over some of your tour processes live. So I'm going to start a poll right now where you can opt in if you want to be invited to this event that we will hold next week. And we will send you all of the information through email if you're interested. So, yes. So here's Tamar's information. I'll also be including this in our follow-up email that we will send out. And then just a quick word about Playground, which this webinar is brought to you by. If you don't know what Playground is, we're the only childcare management software that a program would need to run and grow. So if you run a center and you are looking for a software solution, or maybe you heard some of Tamar's amazing advice about how to run your tours and you're looking for a tool to help you put all of it into practice, Playground is your destination. So there's a CTA on the screen if you'd like to learn more and speak to someone on our team. And then keep an eye out from us for more information on upcoming webinars. And thank you so much, everyone, for coming. And thank you, Tamar, for all of the wonderful advice that you've given.
You're welcome. Any questions? Just put them in the chat. Otherwise, if there are no, I think I did so well. There are no questions.
You nailed it.
I nailed it today. All right, thank you, Melissa. Here's my information again, if anybody wants to keep the conversation going. You're welcome, Jennifer. Nice meeting, well, sort of meeting all of you. I saw your names come up on the chat. Maybe one day we'll all meet in person. Bye, Destiny. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming.
Okay, I think if there are no questions, we're going to end it here. So thank you so much, everyone, and see you again next time.
Thank you. Bye.